Greetings folks, welcome back to the landscape and welcome back to an autumn woodland. When I run my workshops, one of the things that I try to get my participants to do is think about why are they taking the image that they're taking. Very often the answer will be because I like it. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But what I try and encourage my participants to do is to think about why they like it and include the answer to that question or the answers to that question in the frame that they then compose on the camera. So asking questions like this is something that was, I wouldn't say it was taught to me, but the suggestion to do it was made to me by Steve Gosling. And this was back in the day when I put myself through some landscape photography workshops trying to learn the craft of landscape photography. And it's something that definitely drives me. And there's two questions that Steve asks, and it's two questions that I've adopted. And the two questions are, why am I taking this photograph? And what are the elements in the scene that interest me? And the answer to one question drives the other partly, but it's two really key questions. And it's something that I get my participants to think about. Now in the B-roll, you saw me set up and photograph this tree. So why this particular tree? Well, let me move the camera around gently and I'll talk to you why. So I've been walking around this woodland, just gently strolling. I've got a slightly gammy leg today, just a little bit uncomfortable. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go and have a womble. So I'm wandering through this woodland, brain in neutral, humming a little tune to myself. For those of you who are really interested, Thompson Twins, Doctor, Doctor. Don't really know why, but that's the tune that I had running around in my head. And predominantly in this woodland, the colour is yellow. Maybe a tinge of orange, but predominantly yellow. And the colour is sparse. It's not sort of ablaze, the whole place isn't absolutely plastered in yellow. It's a mixture of yellow and green. I've got some browns in the ferns as well. There's a soft wind. It's just there caressing my face. It's quiet and understated. I'm quite happy, quite chirpy. And when I came across my tree, the tree that you saw in the B-roll, I just looked at it and thought, do you know what? That tree sums up me in this place right now. The colour that's on the tree is the same as what I've been experiencing. It's sparse, there's green behind it, and there's browns of the ferns in front of it. I'm doing a sweep very gently back round to it actually, and try and point it out. So there it is, right there. Let me just reposition myself. So there's my tree there, right in the centre of the frame. This tree. I like its shape. It's sort of slightly twisty. It's got layers of colour running up through it, which I quite liked. Behind it is green. There's some other trees around it. There's some tree trunks that you can see sort of down here. I don't know whether they've been cut manually by hand or whether they felled. It really doesn't matter. There's a slight fence line actually along here, but I've been walking alongside a fence just now, so having a fence in my picture doesn't bother me because it was part of my experience. Now, when I was trying to compose this scene, I was doing it in landscape format. Let me grab my viewing aid. So, if I tilt the camera up as much as I dare, sort of there-ish. So I'm trying to include the base of the tree and then just allow the tree to rise up through the frame. Something like that is what's in my scene. But just let the tree speak. And I've also used a polarizer. Now normally in woodland you would use a polarizer in order to accentuate the colour. Here I'm actually trying to do the reversed. I'm actually trying to accentuate the background, because that will actually make the tree stand out. If I accentuate all the colour, then all of these ferns and everything that's around this tree will become more obvious and more prominent, and the tree will start to blend into the background. So if I show you very quickly on the back of my camera, there we are. That's my scene, the tree coming up through the middle of the frame. There's another tree here that partners it. And there's another spindly tree there, and it sort of meanders through the frame, and this one supports it and encourages, this one here supports it and encourages the eye to actually come back into the frame. That tree on its own just summarizes my little ambling walk through this wood. Summarizes it perfectly. Why am I taking this photograph? I'm trying to create a summary of my experience here. What are the elements in the scene that interest me? Well, principally, trying to let that tree stand out and communicate the notion of atmosphere. Two very, very key questions, but the answers to those questions are really, really important in my own photography. So I'm going to leave this video here with that thought. The thought that asking yourself two very simple questions can actually have a profound influence over not only what it is that you choose to photograph, but also the decisions that you make in the camera, and then also consequently when you get home, and you start processing on the computer. An obvious example of that would be a distracting branch or a leaf or a twig or blade of grass or whatever, that when you ask yourself those questions when you get home, if that's something that disturbs the answer, then of course you can choose to do something about it in software, and your choice to do it will be being driven by what it is that you're trying to say, the answers to those two questions. So there we go. It's definitely what drives me and my photography. And if anything, I just encourage you all to think about it yourself. It's not going to be for everybody, I know that. But as an approach, yeah, it definitely ticks that box with me. So leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the approach, even if you think it's a load of shash. And maybe if you do think it's a load of shash, what's your approach? How would you go about approaching a subject when you're in woodland experiencing what I've been experiencing? Let's share and let's actually see what other people do. So please also like and subscribe. As usual, your support is very, very greatly appreciated. And until we're out in the landscape again, everybody stay safe and stay well. And I shall see you next time. Take good care. See you soon. I'm going to carry on wombling through this woodland.